Hello, this is Dr. Lisa Belisle, and you are listening to Radio Maine. As with all creative endeavors, we are continuing to evolve Radio Maine after being 12 episodes in. And this week, we're being creative with our location. We are actually out of the state of Maine. It is an important week for my husband as he is turning a big birthday. We usually celebrate our birthdays by traveling. This last year has caused us to redo things a little bit, but as we are both fully vaccinated and we are now dealing with some changes and restrictions to travel, we have made an important journey to celebrate this life transition for him. This weekend, I'm thinking a lot about transitions, and in particular, I'm thinking about a transition that my sister Adele is making. She is retiring from the Air National Guard in Maine after having been in the Guard and also the Air Force essentially since she was 17 years old, which is more than 3 decades. She left Yarmouth High School and was appointed to the Air Force Academy and really has dedicated herself to our country as a pilot and as an orthopedic surgeon, and now as an orthopedic surgeon with the VA. And I'm very proud of her. I'm very proud of her and also my 35 family members dating back to my great great grandfather, I believe, several generations, who have served in the military, including 6 of my siblings, and actually currently my daughter's boyfriend, who is with the Army. It's an important thing that people do serving their country. I cared for former soldiers when I was working as a physician with the VA, although I've never been in the military myself. My connection to the military runs pretty far back into my childhood. I was raised in part in Jacksonville, Florida, actually Orange Park, right near where my dad was completing his training in the Navy as a family physician. So it's important for me to be actually circling back around in my life to this place where we are this week, in part because transitions are something that occur when things change. There is a book, and I'm looking at my notes because I have a lot of them for this Radio Maine podcast. There's a book that is by William Bridges called Transitions. It's well known to many people. And it really talks about the fact that change is one thing, it's somewhat external. We may lose a job, lose a spouse, get a new job, get a new spouse. But these are kind of external things. The most important processes that take place actually take place inside of ourselves as we build new identities around these new roles that we take on. So obviously my sister, she is completing her time with the military and she will continue to have the role of orthopedic surgeon with the VA, but she's going to be transitioning her role and really has probably spent a lot of time thinking about that and what that means to her emotionally and maybe even spiritually. I think a lot of us think about this, and especially as a result of COVID, I've been seeing people taking new jobs, people moving, people really reconsidering their lives. And whether we had COVID or not, life does move on. We deal with deaths and births and marriages, and we are continually changing kind of the cloaks that we are wearing in our roles in our lives. It's interesting for me to be here in Florida because I do feel as if I've circled back around to a place where I spent time when I was younger. But I also am circling back around to a place where I spent time with my daughter when she was in 8th grade. She was a high level swimmer up until the time that she left college. And she competed in the 8th grade in nationals, which was a pretty big deal for her. She was the only one from her swim team from our small town in Maine. And her father and I traveled down here to Fort Lauderdale so she could participate in nationals. And I had actually forgotten that this was a location that we came to watch her as a swimmer. I had forgotten this until she asked me where I was going for this birthday trip. And she said, "Oh, that is a place that you've been to before." I think it's actually kind of common the older we get to forget that we might have been a place before. And then when we come back to a place, like an actual physical geographic location, we're kind of shocked into realizing it's something that kind of continued to be there even while we were gone. But even places will go through their own transitions. As I was walking down the A1A towards one of my favorite Starbucks in Fort Lauderdale, if one can have a favorite Starbucks in Fort Lauderdale, which I developed as a favorite the last time I was here when she was in 8th grade, and let's just say that was a few years ago. I noticed that there's some new artwork along the way. There's artwork on the skywalk and along the walkway. And this is artwork that was created by Ruben Ubiera. And I hope I'm not causing problems with your name, Ruben, if you end up seeing this. But there are two beautiful pieces. One is over the skywalk. It is called Aqua Vida, and the other is called La Di Da Flow, and it's along the walkway. And we have beautiful sea turtles and hibiscus and bright pinks that are just draw your eye to the sky. What's interesting about this artwork is that this was started before COVID, or before we really realized that COVID was upon us. This began the process in February of 2020. So when I was reading about this artist, I was realizing that the pandemic wasn't even in our minds as they were developing this project. And he went through, completed it, got it all done. So by the time I came back to Florida, not even realizing that I had been there once before until just before I flew down here, I was surprised to see it there. And I was realizing that's kind of part of life. And that is part of change and transition, is that you're always going to be retaining an earlier part of yourself that you never lose. And you're also going to be bringing on a new part of yourself. So as I come down here this weekend, I no longer have a child who is of younger and high school and college swimming age. She's fully graduated from college and graduate school. In fact, I have no children who are competing in any sort of individualized sports, although I do have a daughter who rows crew now in college. But at some point, this was a really important aspect of my identity, was the mother who had children who played sports. Just as being in the military has been a really important part of my sister's identity for more than 3 decades. And my father, who was in the military, both in the Navy for 9 years and another 25 years with the Guard, the Air National Guard, this was a part of their identity that is no longer as external, because they no longer show up for their Guard weekends or for their 2 weeks of training a month, but it's something that they keep inside of themselves. So I think it's interesting to make all these connections. And for me, I make a lot of these connections when I travel, because it is a time where my mind is freed up to be thinking about other things, not just focusing on my patients, or not just focusing on the work I do as a primary care director with Maine General. It's a time where I can kind of contemplate transitions and change and the things that I think all of us go through as we navigate this life. It's really been my pleasure over the last 12 weeks to connect with you on Radio Maine. And I hope you have enjoyed this time with me today outside of Maine. But as with most people who have a connection to Maine, even when I'm not in Maine, I'm actually bringing Maine with me. And I have enjoyed the local art. I've enjoyed the local scenery, and I've been thinking about my family the entire time I've been down here, thinking about my husband's birthday. Happy birthday to you. Thinking about all the things that continue to inspire me. I'm a really lucky person, and The more that I have a chance to have space in my life to contemplate that as I get older, the more I realize that this is absolutely the case. And one of the ways I'm lucky is having the chance to talk to you. It's really nice to be able to build this community with Radio Maine. So please keep sending emails and reaching out, giving us a call, letting us know if you're interested in hearing specific conversations with artists from the Portland Art Gallery, or people who are connected to art in any way, or people who just have, like myself, more of a creative spirit. I hope that you have a wonderful day, and thank you so much for being a part of the Radio Maine community.